Looks like we've got about another minute and we'll get started. I guess that was the good Lord's way of telling me to quit drinking so much coffee.
Some days are like that.
Yep. Has everyone had a chance to get outside? I haven't, not yet.
Well, I mean, on the way in this morning, but it's been a few hours.
It looks like it's nice out. I don't know.
Yep, there is
It's nice
sun
and sunny,
shining
but
through the window.
a bit chilly.
It is. I just came in off Belknap and it was absolutely lovely out there.
Yeah, I'm thinking a walk or something right after this meeting sounds up to something that I should do.
I would agree.
So it is 12 o'clock, and I know that everyone that will be joining here will straggle in. So I'm going to turn it over to John Klein. And John, you can get us started with a leadership update.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. So let's do a mixture of news from the federal government as well as news from the university. Today is day 23 of the federal government shutdown. What that means is all federal grant agencies and other agencies associated with our scholarly work are either on skeletal staffs or not functional at all. This has led to, if we follow the NIH or the National Science Foundation, that study sections are not meeting, councils are not meeting, and so grants that have already been acted upon and have what we would call fundable scores are in limbo at the moment. That is putting stress on us and our colleagues. Some folks have members of their research and other scholarship teams that at the moment are waiting to receive notification of awards, and this really puts folks in limbo. I think we need all of us to be patient with one another and to show each other some grace under stressful conditions like this. We need to think a little bit about guarantees of grants that are going to be awarded and how we can continue to fund those. Outside of the shutdown, even before it occurred on October 1st, we had not had in the last 2 months additional grant terminations. That's positive news. We've not lost actually any grants, and officially, as far as the Sponsored Programs Administration is aware, in the last 10 weeks. As I say each and every time we do this, we are not in the Sponsored Programs Administration the direct notification pathway for terminated grants. It is the principal investigators. So please, if especially any of the research deans that are on the call, make sure that if anyone in your units received terminations, to notify OSPA. But so far, as I say, we have not heard either from the faculty or from the government terminations in the last 10 weeks. That's positive news. There's no getting around that. We like that, but also recognize that the layoffs within the funding agencies have slowed down the process really very dramatically. That in and of itself is a way not of terminating grants, but of delaying grants to the point where it creates stress points for the faculty as well as the staff who are involved in that scholarly work. So really kind of a mixed bag at the federal level. We have a shutdown underway. We have slowdowns in the funding agencies. We're coping with those as best as all of us can. And that's really, sort of it on the federal level. On the local level, some really positive things have happened. I want to congratulate the people in the Brown Cancer Center and the School of Medicine. Their COBRA was renewed, and we had a press conference yesterday to celebrate that. That is their immunology based effort through the National Institute of General Medical Sciences. Our COBRA awards are really the foundation of most of our NIH funding here. It's about 25% of our total NIH funding comes from the either COBRAs or from the idea state process. So we're absolutely delighted that the Cancer Center received renewal there. Couple recent developments in tech transfer are noteworthy. And without going into too much detail, we've had some very positive news in terms of university intellectual property. No big windfalls. Nobody's backing up an armored car here to unload money, but some very positive news also, and want to thank them. And then the last thing I want to say is I want to thank everybody in the Office of Research and Innovation. For the last 7-8 months, it's been an incredibly stressful environment because of federal changes. And I have to say they've stepped up and they're performing, at a very high level under stressful conditions. So I'm very grateful to everyone in that office, as well as everybody across the university that is dealing with what are, to say the least, unusual times. That's what I've got from the research leadership perspective. Feel free to email me with any questions about federal changes. If I can't answer it, I'll turn you over to somebody who can. Turning now to the agenda for today, it's a pleasure to introduce Dayna Touron, the Dean of Arts and Sciences. We're going to hear something of an overview of research and scholarly activity in arts and sciences. They have brought a title, From Quarks to Culture, the Scope of ANS Research. Dayna, would you take it, please?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us here today. As John said, I'm Dayna Touron, the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. I'm thinking about this as like an ANS takeover of the ORI Town Hall, and we're glad to do it. My own academic home is in the Department of Psychological and Brain Sciences. I'm a cognitive psychologist, and my research is focused on learning and strategic cognitive processes in older adulthood. But today I will be providing a brief overview of research in ANS, and then I'll turn things over to two of our exceptional team members, faculty in ANS. As John said, the title of my overview is From Quarks to Culture, the Scope and Interdisciplinarity of ANS Research. Can everyone see my shared screen?
Yes.
Great. Perfect. That's what we want to hear. All right. So our mission in ANS is to empower through mentor discovery and community impact. And so we really look at things from a teacher-scholar model, meaning that our faculty teach and do research, including students in hands-on projects that connect learning to real-world challenges. We allow students to collaborate on really high quality interdisciplinary work, building skills and confidence for future leadership. And it's community engaged in that our research addresses local and global needs through partnerships and public scholarship on issues like sustainability, health, and equity. And so I wanted to give an overview for those of you outside ANS about the breadth of disciplines within the College of Arts and Sciences at UofL. And so, as you can see, our college is organized into 3 primary academic divisions: natural sciences, social sciences, and humanities and arts, with 21 academic departments and 5 special programs. In natural sciences, we have departments of biology, chemistry, physics, and astronomy, mathematics, geographic and environmental sciences, and psychological and brain sciences. In social sciences, we have anthropology, communication, criminal justice, history, political science, sociology, and urban and public affairs. In our academic division of humanities and the arts, we have it features really the Haidt Institute of Art and Design, classical and modern languages, interdisciplinary and public humanities, English, Pan-African studies, philosophy, theater arts, and women's gender and sexuality studies. And importantly, the School of Music, another important, performing art at UofL, is separate in its own school. We also have special programs, including the University Honors Program resides in Arts and Sciences. We have General Studies, Liberal Studies, and ROTC in both Army and Air Force tracks. But we're here today to talk about research. And so I want to, really just show the extent to which our research spans a remarkable range of topics, but is also, I think, heavily thematic. And so I'm going to organize our research into 4 rough thematic clusters here: environmental sciences, health and wellness, social equity, and humanities, arts, and cultural studies. And so each of these clusters includes impactful work by a range of scholars, scientists, and creative artists in ANS. And so in environmental sciences, for example, we have ecologists, a number of folks across departments that do work in renewable energy. We have geographic information systems, which DJ Biddle will be talking about in more detail in a bit, and work in sustainability, in health and wellness, work on mental health, biosciences, health literacy, and medical anthropology. Within social equity, work on environmental policy, urbanization, ethics, race and sexuality, and the intersection of those, and a lot of work on police training. We have a Southern Police Institute that's very renowned. In humanities, arts, and cultural studies, we have the only credentialed African-American theater program in the world. We have literary arts, public history, fine art, and interior architecture, media, and film. And of course, we also do a lot of work that doesn't neatly fit into these thematic clusters, really across the range of our academic divisions and disciplines. And there's so much work. We have so many folks that I'm really not even touching upon their work with 500 faculty. We really span a remarkable range of different areas and areas of inquiry. And so our really ripe for, I think, collaborative opportunities across the institution. I also want to highlight some of our centers and institutes that advance interdisciplinary research and community engagement. Within the area of environment and science, we have the Center for Environmental Policy and Management. We have the GIS Center that DJ will be speaking about in a bit. We have the Center for Regulatory and Environmental Analytic Metabolomics, which is in our Department of Chemistry. In Community and Justice, we have our Ann Braden Institute for Social Justice Research that Dr. Angela Storey will be talking about in a bit. Our Institute for Intercultural Communication, and the Urban Studies Institute, which is really a consortium of a number of different centers: Kentucky Data Center, Population Research Center, Survey Research Center, the Center for Hazards Research and Policy Development, and the Center for Sustainable Urban Neighborhoods. Within humanities and culture, a few of our centers include the Center for Asian Democracy, the Commonwealth Center for Humanities and Society, which spans across a number of our disciplines, and the Center for Archaeology and Cultural Heritage. We have several research facilities, but of course also do collaborative research in the community and with other units across UofL, including our laser spectroscopy lab, which is really, I think, one of the most impressive labs of its sort in the nation, an NMR facility, a vivarium, which will be suspended for a bit as we conduct much needed renovations in our life sciences building. We have several field and observational sites, very notably our Horner Wildlife Sanctuary that is enjoying a lot of growth and, sort of increased capacity under the direction of Department Chair in Biology, Linda Fuselier. Our Moore Observatory, which is in the same site. And you see here a picture of students from an art class actually visiting the Horner Sanctuary. And so I think coupling of research and instruction is something that we I think we really excel at. Community and cultural assets, the Cressman Center for Visual Arts downtown, which also includes our glass blowing studio and gallery space, and the Haidt Institute art collection. I want to give a little bit of highlights of some of the really outstanding research that's come out of our college. So imagine treatments tailored to each individual and the possibility that science can personalize care for those facing depression or eating disorders. And this is the promise of some work that's emerged from Dr. Sherry Levinson's lab, and just fantastic work that's being done, really looking at real world impact work by students that's looked at turning storm chasing into climate action, a mobile weather cart that tackles rising heat in our cities, work on finding purpose and connection by helping families thrive. So the Resilient Families Project, work on where students are shedding light on systemic hurdles faced, for example, by unhoused Black men, and challenges in how we should rethink social support systems in our communities. Work that's being done at Horner Sanctuary, salamanders telling a climate story that can reshape how we understand ecological change. Work where translation becomes activism, preserving endangered languages and elevating voices of Indigenous women poets. John Keelkoff's legacy, from telescopes to mentorship. Really, John has guided generations of space scientists and has been just a long-standing, really critical part of our community. And a recent work by Dr. Angela Storey, which is an apologetic celebration of Black queer identity, and really looked at this through a lens of history, community, and social activism. And so this is just an overview. Again, we have so many folks doing great work, and I really wanted to provide some tidbits. Today's speakers will include Angela Storey, the director of the Anne Braden Institute for Social Justice Research, talking about how climate solutions can strengthen communities and make cities healthier. And then DJ Biddle from our Center of Geographic Information Sciences and senior lecturer in our Department of Geographic and Environmental Sciences will talk a bit about the services provided by his center and how they can enrich research in a number of different applications. I know that's a lot. It's a really wide overview, but I wanted to give a sense of all of the different areas of research that we're conducting here in the college. And I will turn the screen and the microphone over now.
Thank you so much, Dayna. That was really a very quick and certainly very informative session on what all's great going on in your college. I think the next speaker, as you mentioned, is going to be DJ Biddle. DJ, if you can take over the screen, I would appreciate it.
Well, I actually think Angela is going to go next, and I'm going to follow up.
Sorry.
No problem.
All good. Thanks so much. Let me share my screen here. Can folks hear me? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Let me get this shared and then at full screen. All right. Are you all seeing that slide? Okay. Great. Well, thanks so much to everyone for the invitation to speak about this research, and also to Dayna for that wonderful introduction to the breadth of research in arts and sciences. I'm Angela Storey. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Anthropology, and I direct, as Dayna said, the Anne Braden Institute for Social Justice Research, which I'll talk about a little bit at the end of my presentation. I'm a cultural anthropologist and an ethnographer, which means all of my research is qualitative. Most of my research is interdisciplinary and mixed methods in nature. And since I've come to Louisville almost 10 years ago, I've been doing research here, but I also conduct research in Cape Town in South Africa. And I'm an urban political ecologist by training, and have really enjoyed doing quite a lot of different things since I started here. Today, I'm going to be talking about an NSF-funded project that quite a number of folks in arts and sciences, and then also some folks in the School of Public Health and Information Sciences have been involved in. And I've called this talk, That's a Park, Engaging Communities in Nature-Based Solutions to Climate Impacts. So our project is called ENACTS, which is a, let's say, creative approach to creating an acronym. And the acronym is Equitable Nature-Based Climate Solutions. And I'll be talking a lot across the next 12 or so minutes about what this means. But I just wanted to reference that acronym to begin with, because I'm probably going to be saying it a lot. And so the purpose of the ENACTS project is to understand and measure the impact of what are called nature-based solutions, or you'll see the acronym NBS, on community well-being. And across this really broad 4-year project, of which we're just beginning the 2nd year, we're going to be working across 6 institutions and on about 10,000 different methodological approaches, it feels, to develop design principles and best practices that promote environmental sustainability and community resilience. And we'll be thinking quite a lot about public spaces in 3 cities. And so I'm going to walk you through different elements of this project, and also at the end, happy to answer more questions. So what are nature-based solutions? These are very broadly different kinds of strategies that utilize elements of nature to address both environmental and population health challenges. And some of the challenges these might address include things like flooding, access to clean air, access to clean water, and also food insecurity. For the ENACTS project, we're specifically focusing on climate impacts, and specifically climate impacts in cities. And the ones that we're talking most about here will be nature-based solutions that address urban heat and flooding, and do so through 3 approaches. First, through tree planting programs. Second, through the utilization and maybe expansion of green spaces and parks within cities. And then third, through stormwater management. There are a lot of other projects in the country and also here in Louisville that are involved in scholarship and research on nature-based solutions. And of course, I imagine that many of you are familiar with the Envirom Institute, who's also very engaged in nature-based solutions, and we're beginning some collaborations or connections with on their Greenprint project. We're in the process of hiring a joint postdoc between our 2 projects to draw connections between these different approaches to understanding nature-based solutions. So for ENACT specifically, we're going to be looking at 3 different mid-sized cities. One is, probably not surprisingly, Louisville. The second is Providence, Rhode Island, and the third is Manchester, New Hampshire. And you'll see in these 3 photos that are a wonderful GRA put together for me, that these are all cities that are very watery. And so talking about flooding is one of the things that makes sense in these cities. Thinking about folks that are closer, of course, to the shores of oceans and seas makes sense that we talk about flooding. But as anyone who's lived in Louisville from earlier this year knows, flooding is also a significant challenge here in Louisville. And research done in Louisville and many other places show a tremendous increase and also danger associated with flooding. Also, urban heat is a massive problem in Louisville. I imagine that many people know that we've had an increase from the baseline years of 1960 to around 1990 of about 2 weeks of really hot weather in the summer, and we are projected by mid-century to have many, many more days. And so the risks associated with that are not only to human health in the acute and also chronic ways of accelerating or deepening existing conditions, but then also significant threats to the environment as well. So if you're thinking specifically here in Louisville, because most of what I'm going to talk about here today is about Louisville, there are a number of different nature-based solution interventions that have already been taking place. I'm just going to touch on these briefly and also direct you to these organizations if you're interested in knowing more about them. In terms of thinking about tree planting projects, there are many that are happening here in Louisville, and this has been a really big focus since around the early 2010s, when research identified Louisville as the city with the fastest growing urban heat island effect and a dwindling tree canopy. And so Trees Louisville is one of the organizations that's been working on expanding green spaces and also doing tree plantings. This has included work in both Parkland and also downtown around expansion of the tree canopy. MSD has also been doing work on addressing sewer overflow, including through Project which involves addressing stormwater challenges. And then the organization that we're working with on enacts, one of those is the Parks Alliance of Louisville, which is a nonprofit organization that works with Metro Parks and Rec to support non-Olmsted parks around the city. And they helped develop Alberta O. Jones Park, which you'll see a photo of our research team visiting on the right from the summer on a rainy, cloudy day. And this has included really amazing creation of a space that is in a floodplain and exists because of the work and labor of not only Parks Alliance, but really an extensive set of community organizations and individuals. On the INACS project to address NBS, we have a really wide set of expertise, and this is some listed here. For the folks who are involved at Louisville, I just wanted to call out those people, some of whom are on this call, and you're going to hear from DJ in a moment from the Center for GIS. But I also wanted to say and recognize and say thanks to our graduate research assistant, Jenny Tinman, from the School of Public Health, to human geographer Kalpana Venkata Subramanian, who's faculty in geography and environmental sciences, to other folks from geography, for Stevens and Andrea Gaughan, who are engaged in a lot of our spatial analysis. And then also you'll hear from DJ, his colleague Laura Krauser, who are doing work in Center for GIS. And then we have two great geography students who've worked with us, one this summer, Kezia Dambo, who's a graduate student, and then undergrad Lynn Wu. And so we have been at UofL contributing to this broader project that's across 6 institutions in 3 states and funded under an NSF EPP score with multiple awards. We have been engaged in providing to the wider team, which includes hydrologists, modelers, English professors, landscape designers, just a really, I'd say, motley crew of interdisciplinary folks. We have been providing on the UofL side a significant amount of spatial research expertise, and then also community engaged and qualitative work. And if you follow this QR code, it should, I believe, lead you to one of the UNH page, which is the kind of coordinator of the center of this project. So I'll just talk quickly in the next few minutes about some of the questions we're trying to address and the ways that we're doing that. So these are some of the bigger questions about nature-based solutions that we're trying to address again in this 4-year project, including the effectiveness of NBS in addressing climate threats. And a lot of the focus is going to be on how to do this work in a more equitable way. What are the ways in which communities, and especially marginalized communities, can be more involved in not only the design, but also the identification of potential NBS interventions. And this is because this project is not about change in climate impacts, but rather about adaptation and mitigation in the moment of reality in which we are already seeing significant impacts on our daily lives, and impacts that are inequitably experienced across our communities. And so thinking about the many different ways in which geography, class, race, gender, so many different elements of community experience at the individual and collective level shape what it is that people experience as climate impacts. So among the many different methods we're using include some that are looking across the city at key stakeholders engaged in nature-based solutions. This include folks from government agencies, from business, from nonprofits, from design firms, from public-private partnerships. This includes interviews that are going to be completed later this year, a series of resilience workshops that draw together multiple stakeholders to talk about the state of NBS work and other possibilities in Louisville, and then serious gaming, a method that I cannot tell you very much about, but I know one of our colleagues at UNH is going to be leading. We're also going to be doing a variety, and I've already started collecting data through work directly with community members. And I'll be talking about these in the next few slides. And so this has included listening sessions, which we'll get to in a moment. We'll be engaging in photo voice work with senior residents of some senior living facilities in Old Louisville, and also college students. And then also going to be doing some really fascinating VR, AR work to test out the possibilities of what community members would like to see as NBS in their communities in the spring, with the landscape designer and a VR, AR expert from Rhode Island. So these local community member methods are going to be focused on one specific park in order to give us a tangible grounded space and set of communities to engage with. And the park that we selected with the input of the Parks Alliance and Parks and Rec is a park that is very small and is located at the north end of the Old Louisville neighborhood. And it's Memorial Park. It's a small corner park, the corner of 4th and Kentucky, I should know that. And you'll see a beautiful aerial image here of the park. And that's pretty much the whole park. So we chose Memorial Park because this is a park that has had not seen significant investment in the last 30 plus years. And so it's one of the parks that was identified in the Parks Alliance research a few years ago in their report as being one of the most in need of investment, calculated on a variety of different topics related to equity. It is technically in the Sobro or south of Broadway neighborhood, which is a neighborhood that has a history of urban renewal, which means that it was this destruction of many buildings and residential areas and the production instead of many parking lots. And in fact, the majority of that neighborhood is still surface parking lots. This is a transitional zone between downtown and Old Louisville, and it has a high number of senior living facilities, but also many institutions. As might be the most evocative thing to know about this park is that the Louisville Metro government website for the park lists its amenities as picnic table in the singular and Wi-Fi access. So that tells you it is not a park that maybe is seen as filled with amenities. So we started doing work to identify what community members think about Memorial Park at an event earlier this summer. And you see some of our researchers here, Joanna, who's our landscape designer from Rhode Island, Laura Krauser from the Center for GIS, and undergraduate geography major Lynn Wu here. And the goal for this was to collect broad community input on the uses and perceptions of not just Memorial Park, but other parks and perceptions of NBS. And we employed both individual surveys and focus group discussions. Our project partners were there. We had an amazing turnout. We had to order more food because we ran out. And we ended up with 51 research participants from quite a number of different neighborhoods and stakeholder institutions. Looking ahead, we're going to be continuing data collection throughout this year. As you saw, we have a lot of different methods on our plate. We're engaged in conference presentations and multiple publications. We'll all be heading in February, I think, to New Hampshire. So that should be an adventure. And as I noted, we're in the process of hiring a postdoc. So I hope that seeing an example of this project, which is really rooted in community engagement and I would say radically interdisciplinary work, shows you a little bit of what arts and science isn't about. In my last 30 seconds, I'm just going to plug something from the Institute I direct, which is our 19th annual Anne Braden Memorial Lecture, which will be coming up on Thursday, November 13th at 6 p.m. It's going to be with Dr. Beth Ritchie, who is truly a phenomenal scholar. And she'll be speaking on the topic of abolition feminism and anti-racist praxis. So if you're able to join us, we would really love to have you there. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to DJ to tell us about the Center for GIS.
All right. Thank you, Angela, for sharing a broad overview of the ENACT project. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And can somebody give me a thumbs up if you can see it?
We can
Or
see it.
great, thank you so much. Yeah, so thank you, Angela, for giving us that broad overview of Enacts. I'm going to follow up on Angela's introduction to the Enacts project by trying to illustrate how the Center for GIS leverages geospatial applications to support that interdisciplinary research across those 3 hubs. So if you, I know some of you on this call, it's good to see you. But if you don't know me, my name's DJ Biddle. I'm the director of the Center for GIS here in the Department of Geographic and Environmental Sciences, where I'm also a senior lecturer of GIS. I'm a PI and collaborator on research projects with faculty and students that I mentor. And I provide technical and methodological guidance to campus GIS users across UofL's campuses. And I hope that many of you will join that cohort after today's talk and some of the things I have to share. So just a quick overview of what I will cover. I'll introduce the Center for GIS. We've been around for 30 years, but maybe this is your first time hearing about us. I'll describe what I termed the spatial advantage and why I think we should be paying attention to geospatial technology as it relates to our research projects, and then try to animate that concept through 3 different mini projects or 3 acts from the Enacts project that are focused on demonstrating how tools that are available to you as a U of L researcher are easy to deploy and produce really high quality deliverables that can help inform your research team discussions or public dissemination of research results, data collection, those kinds of things. And if that gets you interested, I'll finish by sharing some of the resources available to you as a U of L researcher, how to work with us if you want to directly engage with the center in your research. And then hopefully we'll have time for questions as I wrap up. So the Center for GIS was established, again, 30 years ago to be like a central resource for geographic information systems. So digital mapping, spatial data analysis, and what I'm just going to term geospatial technology. We have a mission to be the beacon of GIS and geospatial technology for the University of Louisville. And we have a vision to build a center where every person, program, and project at U of L can benefit from what we consider to be the transformative power of geospatial technology. And we made a big step in that direction of bringing GIS to everybody on campus through the recent centralization of our Esri institution agreement, or in other words, the ArcGIS site license. So many of you may be familiar with ArcGIS as the flagship desktop GIS software. We have entered an agreement with the Provost's office to provide universal access to that software after many years of using a cost recovery model. So you may not have heard about that yet. The details are still, it's still early, and we're working with IT on a plan to deploy that. But I will leave you with some information about how to access that software right now before we make the full rollout. So you'll be kind of the beta testers in this case. The Center for GIS consists of 2 full-time staff members, myself and Laura Krauser, our GIS research coordinator, and we collaborate internally with a variety of faculty affiliates within our department, and of course we collaborate with researchers in many different colleges and schools at the university and on all of our campuses. We speak to the university's teaching mission by offering high-impact learning opportunities, both through formal coursework, internships, mentored research, and informal learning opportunities. We remain actively engaged in the community through work with our nonprofit and K-12 partners, and we bring the community together on Belknap campus every November for GIS Day, which is an international celebration of the impact of GIS in the community. Again, I'll have more information about that towards the end of this talk. We support administrative functions at the university through building GIS applications for Department of Environmental Health and Safety, grounds and physical plant. We work closely with UPDC. So we have our hands in a little bit of everything here at U of L. But you came to learn about our research activities, and so to kind of give a brief warm up and just convey the breadth of different disciplinary traditions that we have engaged with over the 30-year history of the center. Humanities scholars understand that geographic context is really important in conveying historical narratives or social movements or, even public art. And so we use our ArcGIS story maps to build digital applications to tell those stories. We work closely with the natural sciences, physical sciences, and collaborators in engineering. We do have some active collaborations with folks over in the Speed School doing data collection, data analysis, and mapping for a variety, sorry for that, for a variety of folks. And we have a growing portfolio of collaborations in the social and health sciences, both on Belknap campus and on the health sciences campus. We've got some really strong collaborations with the Christina Lee Brown Envirom Institute that we're really excited about the future of that relationship. We've worked with the CIEHS and several other med school units. And of course, we have active collaboration with folks in public health through the ENACTS project. So what ties all of these disciplinary traditions together is that folks are understanding that there is a spatial advantage in understanding that where things happen, how the locations of people, events, and natural phenomena relate to each other across Earth's surface is key to understanding them. And so, we're seeing that spatial data analysis, geovisualization, and increasingly GeoAI techniques are recognized as essential components of interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary projects, because no matter what you're studying, everything happens somewhere. And so I'd like to, again, animate that idea through 3 mini projects that are related to the ENACTS project. And Angela, gave a fantastic overview of the ENACTS project. And, hopefully it was evident that ENACTS is inherently spatial. The communities that we're working in are distributed across landscapes, urban landscapes that have a variety of different economic, cultural, environmental, dimensions that all converge to present, riskscapes, effectscapes that we understand that nature-based solutions can mitigate or can contribute to. So I'd like to just share 3 small examples of how we're using GIS to operationalize the work of ENACTS. And so in this first act, I want to share how we built an internal mapping application for research team members to help provide a way to understand these these interactions and the complexity of the systems that we're working in by finding publicly available, authoritative socioeconomic, environmental, natural resource data, building intuitive geovisualizations, and then providing a lightweight web application that team members can use to explore, interact, query, and visualize that data on their own to form kind of a common operating picture of the areas that we're working in, give us a shared language around where there are needs, where there are resources, and how ENACTS can contribute. And so I'm going to, at each of these projects, I'm going to reference several different tools within the ArcGIS ecosystem. And the kind of the overarching umbrella here is ArcGIS Online, which is a cloud-based GIS that makes it really easy to find data that I'll demonstrate in just a sec, and make maps and make web applications that you can share with your collaborators, with the public, with stakeholders, decision makers, as you need. And that starts usually for me with the ArcGIS Living Atlas of the World, which is a repository of authoritative data. And I'm going to see if I can find the right tab here, and just kind of convey that that it's really easy to find data in the Living Atlas. So if we search for CDC Social Vulnerability Index, we return a hit for a web-based GIS layer from the CDC's ArcGIS Online account in the most recent vintage. And we can quickly add that to a web map and symbolize it, add additional layers to create custom visualizations. So here's a few of the layers that I'm going to reference in the next application, which is based on ArcGIS instant apps. And
DJ,
so,
we lost your screen. Just a
oh
heads up.
no,
Sorry to interrupt.
I'm so sorry. Can you see it again?
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
I don't
but
know
we
where I
didn't get
lost
to
you.
see it was the Living Atlas demo.
Okay. I'm so sorry. Thanks for interrupting, Laura. I guess when I switched applications, we lost that. So basically, I showed you how easy it was to find data in ArcGIS Living Atlas and add it to a map, which allows you to create web apps to share with your research team. And so just to kind of demonstrate how that works for our Manchester, New Hampshire site, our collaborators there wanted to be able to see the political districts that they're focused on working in, and social vulnerability indicators like the CDC Social Vulnerability Index or the Justice 40 tracks. They wanted to be able to see environmental exposures like EPA Superfund sites, toxic research release inventory sites, of course, flood hazards, because as Angela mentioned, most of the communities that we're working in experience, either inland flooding or river flooding, and then heat severity. Some of these, so understanding where the exposure to extreme heat events may be the most intense. So this gives researchers a chance to explore the data on their own, ask their own questions, get their own answers, and really form a shared understanding of how the landscape of the ENACT project is distributed spatially. So let's start my slideshow again. Live demos are always risky, but I think it's important to be able to convey how quickly we can build some of this stuff. So in Act 2, once we get selected Memorial Park as a research site, we need to be able to understand the population living in proximity to that park, and understand what risks and vulnerabilities those individuals may have as we plan to engage them through listening sessions, through focus groups, through surveys. And so in this act, we built some demographic profiles as infographics using ArcGIS Business Analyst Online, which I really think is the hidden gem of the ecosystem. And so I will bring my screen back up. Can you still see it? Hopefully.
Yes, we can see it.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Just checking. So Business Analyst Online is a interface that allows you to query over 15,000 different variables related to sociodemographics, consumer spending, health data, business locations. It is vast and unexplored in my view. There's more there than I could ever comprehend, but it makes it really easy to define your area of interest. And so in this case, we will just search for Memorial Park, Louisville, which will drop a pin in Memorial Park. And then we need to define what is the service area of within proximity to Memorial Park. And so maybe we define that anyone who can walk reasonably within 15 minutes to the park lives within that service area. So we use a network analysis to generate that 15-minute walk time. And then we can choose from any variety of tabular reports or infographics that give us information about different business and consumer spending, health metrics. But let's take a look at the at-risk population. And usually loads faster, but every time you try to do something in a live demo, it takes longer. So thanks for bearing with me. So now, we can see the folks living in proximity to Memorial Park, who they are, what kind of specific vulnerabilities they may have that could be compounded by climate-related risks, and how we should approach them and meet them where they are as we move on to the community-engaged work. So I'm going to come back to my slideshow one more time to share how we enabled through building geo-enabled surveys, we were able to capture the geography of these community members and their preferences around parks and green spaces. And so really what we need to know is like where folks live and where they play. And so to do that, we used a tool called ArcGIS Survey 123, which is a web-based, very easy to use digital survey builder that allows for geo-enabled survey responses. So we can capture the location of the survey respondent, of the listening session participant, and then we can give them a way to tell us where they like to play, where they like to engage with nature or with parks. And so we can enter as many parks as we like and capture the full range of you get the idea of parks that they may use. And that gives us a data set that contains their locations and then linked to every point here, which is symbolized based on the level of satisfaction of that participant with the green space, the amount of green space in their neighborhood. Each one of these responses is tied to one or more parks that they have identified as parks that they use. So now we have a record of the participants' location, where they live, and then all of the places they play and their perceptions around those places, what they like, what they don't like, what keeps them from using the park in their neighborhood and driving, 30 minutes across town if they have a car. And so this is a really powerful way to understand those patterns and how a project like Enact can potentially modify that environment and improve people's outcomes. So I will wrap up. Hopefully that was not too awkward of a way to demonstrate that, but I wanted to give you a sense of that these tools are really easy to use. You have access to them through our ESRI institution agreement, which is new for fiscal year 2026. We're going to drop a link in the chat. Laura's going to drop some links in the chat for us in a second. There's a software request form link in there. If you'd like to have access to ArcGIS and the full range of products available there, please fill out a form, send it to us, and we will enable your account. We're working with IT on a single sign-on solution that will allow you to just use your ULink credentials to have access to that software, but we're not quite through the workflow to enable that yet. We also have an internal knowledge base or resource hub that gives you some frequently asked questions, ways to get help from folks in the center, including myself, Laura, and our team of student help desk associates that provide kind of a tier 1 service to students in our classes, researchers, and folks who just have general questions about GIS. We also have full access to the web courses, seminars, and lessons on the Esri Academy. So these are vendor credentialed courses through the software vendor that allow you to learn at your own pace around these specific tools. It's a vast library of training opportunities. They're really well put together and they're updated frequently. So you have access to everything there. And then I'd love to see you all at GIS Day 2025, which is coming up November 18th in the SAC Ballroom here on Belknap campus. We've got a great panel discussion that is related to how trees impact health in urban landscapes, both community health, individual health, and environmental health. So U of L's own Ray Yeager from the Environment Institute, who is actually a graduate of our department here in Geographic and Environmental Sciences. He does amazing things with GIS data and geospatial data to help us understand how trees are such a critical piece of our healthcare infrastructure. Cindy Sullivan from Trees Louisville is fresh off the Urban Forestry Master Plan that was just released like maybe last month. And then Megan Hale is a boots on the ground GIS practitioner who manages the GIS operations for Louisville Metro Urban Forestry. That'll be moderated by Tricia Brush, who is the director of the Louisville and Jefferson County Information Consortium. So if you're interested in attending, we'd love to see you there. Please register and let us know that you're going to be there so we have a good head count. And if you are interested in working with us, we do provide fee-for-service research support or support through grant salary support. We can collaborate with you on proposal development if that is an area where our interests align. And we provide a full range of geospatial services from geovisualization and like map production to spatial statistics and modeling to field data collection using drones to collect aerial imagery or high accuracy GPS units to collect survey grade data. So reach out to us if you have ideas about how you could leverage this stuff in your own research. And I'd be happy to entertain any questions either now or you're free to email me anytime you like at dj.biddle@louisville.edu or visit us on the web. We're still at .org, but the Drupal site is on the way sometime soon. So that's all I have for you. Thanks for hanging in there with me as I fumbled through a live demo. Happy to answer any questions. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, DJ. Does anyone have any questions for any of the presenters today? I'd like to thank the three of them. Very interesting. And I'll have to admit, I didn't know as much about arts and science as I thought. So I really appreciate the discussion. Anyone have questions? All right. If not, I have a question. We just finished not too long ago our new faculty retreat. And one of the questions that came up and always comes up from new faculty, how do you go about finding people to be part of an interdisciplinary team? This group has done such a great job. I'm wondering if any of you would have any advice for a new faculty member who wants to do work interdisciplinary in nature, but doesn't know where to start. Anyone presenter want to share their nightmare or their story?
I'll just say that I think connecting with in ANS through the different centers and institutes and Dayna showed the variety of those are a great way to connect. I know, for example, I met a lot of people when I was a faculty fellow through the Bingham Faculty Fellows program with the Commonwealth Center. And I've collaborated with the folks in the Center for Environmental Policy and Management that's directed by Lauren Heberly in sociology, also with the Center for Archaeology and Cultural Heritage here in anthropology. So I think there's a lot out there, and just maybe reaching out to the director of one that is of interest to you is a way to get connected.
I think that's an excellent idea. All right, so we have literally 3 minutes, and so I will quickly remind everyone that we are trying to populate an internal proposal repository. So if you are the recipient of a grant and you're willing to share your proposal with your colleagues on campus, Cecilia put the link there on how you may upload your proposal. You can redact any section of the proposal you would like to not share. You could also ask a graduate student or an administrative staff member to load it for you as your proxy. The other thing for anyone on here, which it looks like this group is not heavily in health, but there are some, that we do have the NIH online Bouvier grant courses that I encourage you to take. They're very worthwhile, and some of the programs Some of the courses provide CPE credit. And if no one has any questions, other questions, we can call it a day. All right. Thank you, everyone. Get outside.
Thank you
Get
so
some
much.
vitamin D.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks for the invitation. Bye.